to excuse Councilmember Press.
We got to call the one first.
So moved.
Allworder,
Apparently I'm supposed to say yes, even though I was denied the last meeting, but I show the courtesy of saying yes.
Touche. Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh.
Yes.
And now can we have a motion to excuse Councilmember Press?
Second, or so moved.
Allworder,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh.
Yes.
Thank you. Now I'm going to move the clerk's report before the minutes so that she can give a report.
My report concerns the
Talk
minutes.
into the microphone, Beth.
Since I came aboard as clerk in 2008, the procedure in place to prepare the council meeting minutes has been handled by a second party, not by me, although it is my responsibility. Back in 2008 and prior, minutes were prepared by Joanne, the previous finance administrator, and when Sean Riley became mayor, his assistant prepared the minutes, and eventually Janet. Recently, changes to the minutes requested by council members have gotten out of control, I think, and the task clearly is no longer a function which Janet should be responsible for. Janet and I discussed this, and it was agreed that Janet will continue to take notes during the council meeting, and I will use her notes and view the video to prepare the minutes for November going forward. It seems a majority of council would like to see minutes in a summary outline form with reference to the video timestamps where in-depth discussions can be viewed. Also desired is the attachment of committee reports to the minutes. Janet revised the October minutes to comply with the outline / timestamp format. Any revisions she made to the unapproved version have been highlighted in yellow, and we hope these October minutes will be approved tonight. I prepared the November minutes using the outline timestamp format. I think the November minutes presented could be shorter, and I will follow any suggestions made tonight to reach that end. One item in need of clarification is timing. If draft minutes are going to be posted on the village website, then the timing is short. If minutes are posted after approval, then the minutes would need to be completed prior to the following council meeting. So I'm looking for some clarification on what are we looking for to hit the website and how soon after we have our council meeting?
I'm glad that you raised that because there's really a lot of verbiage here. You captured it very well. We had a pretty lengthy, involved discussion about all of this, and I was a little unclear myself. What I took away from that, and I'd be happy for anybody else to confirm or not, was that number one, the video would be available immediately on YouTube. So anybody who wanted to see the meeting could have that immediately. Second, I thought we were going to have just like the highlights could be safety committee meeting and the timestamp, and have that minutes, and timestamp, mayor's report timestamp, have that go on the website maybe within a week. And then at the next council meeting, your notes or maybe briefer would be voted and then posted to the website. We would get away from posting draft minutes. I think we accomplished that. So anyway, that was my recollection of kind of what the timing was for these items. And I'd be interested in kind of what your recollection is.
You actually captured, I think, a lot of my thoughts in the minutes. And I think, again, while you've done a nice job as an example in the November minutes, and obviously we'll get to that, it's still to a great extent your interpretation of what was said, and that maybe 90% accurate. Some may think it's 50% accurate. Some may think it's 100% accurate. And so the minutes, if they're not verbatim, are always going to be someone's interpretation and subject to. And I thought we've gotten at least a comment from our law director that some communities simply post, that this topic was discussed. And I thought the suggestion that if you want to see more detail, effectively, it says, go to the YouTube video and at this, approximately minute number 5, you can listen to all of the discussion that took place. And that you don't attempt to rephrase or summarize all of the various comments. You simply say this topic was discussed. So it's really brief. And if we were to go to that, then you could post those fairly quickly, along with obviously the video. And then the approval is, that the next council meeting is almost a formality. It's just, did you get the outline right? And were the minutes right? Hey, I went to the video and it was minute number 14, not minute number 5. Okay, we'll make that correction. But because I just think otherwise we're apparently always going to have a dispute about, well, I thought I said this and you thought you said that. And we already have it. We didn't used to have them taped. Everything you described in the past was because we didn't have an ability to go to a video. And now you can go watch the whole thing. And if you don't want to watch the whole thing, you can go to minute number 18 and see this topic. So I don't know. My vote is to go much simpler than even what you've done in November.
And
that's
And I would agree with that. Chip, you touched on a point I wanted to make, that I don't know how long it's been that we've been recording these meetings, and now we effectively have minutes and what actually happened during the meeting. And I don't know that effectively we need the minutes anymore. If there's an outline of what's on the video, the recording, if it's an hour, if it's 2 hours or 3 hours, that somebody can pull an outline that can be posted within a day or two of safety discussion and Beth, I would even take out the ending time on some of these timestamps, because by default, the beginning timestamp of the next section is kind of the ending timestamp of the one before. And so I think if this is an outline format that basically allows anybody to go onto a website and pick out exactly what sections they're interested or may not be interested in listening to, and then there aren't any discussions about what I thought I said, what I should have said. And then there to Chip's point, I mean, there's always going to be some sort of discussion around, well, that's not really what I meant, or I meant to say something different. And so I think the fact that it's on video basically takes care of all that. So my suggestion would be that the minutes are no more than effectively an outline of the meeting from a timeline standpoint. Anybody that wants more information, there's 7 or 8 bullet points, just like this agenda goes, effectively with timestamps next to it, that someone could look into this and see exactly on the video of what happened and when.
I think we should include pertinent points under the things, because you've been at the meetings. If we're going back, and that would be Janet or Dave or somebody's looking back at the minutes, a lot of time's going to be spent going through those videos.
Yeah.
And it would be helpful if we could get to a little more concise so we can sort through it quicker, because we do have to go back to minutes from council meetings. So I'd say a little bit simpler from what was November, but not to just a bullet point where we absolutely have to watch the video. Does that make sense?
that could be a reasonable
Karen.
compromise.
Yeah, I can't,
It's
Karen,
going to
I
be a
agree.
balance, but I think
So
Beth,
that
you've been
you
at enough of
know
these meetings
if
over
there's
the
a-
years, long before Janet came and whatnot, that you know what key
what's
words and
important
key
and what was
points are.
discussed. And if, like, for example, it says, Councilman Steinbrück report for the real estate committee. Well, if you have written minutes from that, you could attach them, and then you wouldn't have to go through the points. But if the safety committee met and for some, and there wasn't minutes, it would be good. So you'd know if there was something you were interested in instead of having to go
Yeah.
the whole video.
Yeah, because
So-
we did say before it was cumbersome to look at the whole video
It
again.
is.
And sometimes you can't hear what somebody said on the
And
video,
sometimes you
so
can't hear.
I think.
We can review it again
what I
at
would do.
the January to see,
So the other point though is about when they're posted. If we're doing an outline just with the highlights or what the topic is, that's one thing that could go on. But if we're waiting for them to be approved, we're getting away from the draft minutes, then that's not going to go until after the next council meeting. It's not going to go on the website. Is that okay with everyone?
Well, first of all, the video is going up regardless.
Right.
Right. I'm talking about the approved minutes.
I think what I'm hearing is the video goes on immediately. Within a week, I would prepare to get on the website, this outline format with the timestamps. And then we won't do draft minutes anymore. And pretty much exactly what went online is what's going to go to council for approval at the next meeting.
With maybe a couple of bullet points of what the specific items were.
With as Karen said, with pertinent items
Yeah.
included in there.
Todd, what do I do when, let's say someone wants to know that I was designated to be the representative to take, sunshine law training? I mean, I can't send a video to the auditor.
No, I think the final decision of council on certain things should be in the written summary or outline.
Mhm.
The vote on everything, on every motion, on every piece of legislation should be in that. Now, I can provide you with another communities who's been doing this for 5, 7 years, what they do in their minutes, the written minutes, and they have officially adopted the video as their minutes also.
I would very
You
much
have to
appreciate
retain
that.
those under your records schedule, which may be forever. So you've got to make sure those videos are going to be available in a format that doesn't deteriorate or whatever. So actually, Beth, I can get you in touch with the clerk.
Okay, I would appreciate
You know
that.
how it works.
Okay.
So I can send those out to everyone, at least the written.
Yeah, great.
That'd be helpful.
It's good.
The only other thing in this discussion that we agreed to was that we would provide copies of department meetings and ordinances to the audience at the time of the meeting. So like for this meeting, there would be reports and the ordinances be available for the audience. So they knew what we were talking about. That's on the bottom of page 1.
Is that what we'd like to do?
I think it would be nice for the audience or anyone watching to have that material. Otherwise, I know I've sat in the audience and you feel a little bit in the dark, frankly, if you don't have that. So I think it'd be very helpful
Okay.
to provide that.
Okay,
Know how
Could-
everyone else. feels.
Well, I mean, could we post that on the
On the
website
website.
ahead of the,
that's
you know,
fine.
prior to the meeting, that the
Yeah.
the ordinances and everything else is along with the agenda? I don't see anything wrong with having a handful of copies here,
nice
but I'm
to
wondering
have
if it's,
Here.
if somebody's there with their phone or an iPad and they can access
That's
it
great.
online, or we've got a half a dozen card.
I like that idea because otherwise, how many copies are we printing? And we could have a lot of trees cut down. If people think we should have paper copies, okay, but I like the.
I like the idea of the website, but the idea of making it available to them
I think it's
before
a
the
nice
meeting.
touch. I
Yeah.
really
Yeah,
do.
no, I agree with that.
Good, thank you.
Any other questions, Bill?
No, not for
You
me.
got a sense for the next try it?
Well, I'll give it another go around
There
and
you
we'll see
go.
what you think.
Perfect, perfect.
Okay,
So sorry, just to circle back, so not a outline format, but something that's
in between.
maybe in between an outline format and what we have currently with the timestamps. Okay, thanks.
Right now, we have something, so much overkill that, I think if we can bullet point it, people, they say leave everything on one page and people will read it. If you start spreading it out into a book, no one's going to bother to read it. So I think it's good just to bullet point it.
Okay. So with that, we're going to move on to the minutes of council meeting October 11th, 2022 for approval.
Well, I have 2 corrections.
Whoa.
This is unusual. On page 2, this is big, I gotta tell you. The second to last paragraph, the last line, he is looking forward and engaging with the communities as part of the plan, not is. Now that is big.
Thank you.
Second change on page 4. Now, you'll notice on page 1 that I was absent from the meeting. I was on a cruise ship. You will notice on page 4 that apparently I got on a plane and flew back to make a
In-
roll
in
call. I am
absent.
diligent, but I didn't do that. So I just want to be stricken from that roll call. So
Good eye.
So noted. We will correct that.
thank you.
So do we have a motion to approve with the 2 corrections that Chip mentioned?
I'll move to approve.
Second,
Alwarder,
Abstain.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
yes.
Turner,
Yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is minutes from the council meeting of November 8th, 2022.
move to approve.
Second?
Alwarder,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is pay ordinance 1268 for $468,653.67.
So moved?
Second,
Alwarder,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
yes.
Turner,
yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is financial report. Steve? Sorry. Dear.
Thank you. Good evening. The financial report is on one sheet of paper, Ed, but 2 sides. So we'll work a little harder towards getting to that one side standard. November was a busy month with respect to the village's financial matters. We worked with the state of Ohio auditors to complete audits for 2020 and 2021. We supported the operating levy that was renewed, and we closed the month of November in a pretty customary fashion. Further, the Budget and Finance Committee met twice and completed the 23 budget and the related appropriation you'll look at tonight. The long-range financial schedules also were updated through 27, and I'll expand on all these items in the next few minutes. The audits. For the record, the village's financial records and procedures are subject to audit by the state of Ohio's Audit Office. In the summer of 22, the auditors commenced work on the audits of 20 and 21. Throughout the fall, they continued their field work and drafted their report. In November, they issued, and those draft reports were given to council. In November, they issued their reports on the financial statements and on internal controls. The village received clean opinions for both years with respect to both the financial statement numbers and the accounting controls and procedures. Credit is due to the mayor and her team, and in particular to Janet as finance administrator. We would expect the next audit to be in 2024. Levy renewal. The operating levy was renewed on the November ballot. The levy provides approximately $500,000 in annual operating funds. The levy was approved by a 3-to-1 margin. We appreciate the support and confidence of the villagers in our stewardship and handling of the various village financial matters. November results and position. Financial statements were provided to the mayor, to clerk and council in advance of the December council meeting. The village continues to be in a solid financial position. We generate positive cash flow. We manage to a balanced budget. We have no debt. The village has been able to continue the level of police, fire, service, and administrative services as planned and budgeted for 22 throughout the year, despite the economic uncertainties in the markets and persistent inflation. We are benefiting, as reported over the last several months, from the hybrid work environment, as work-from-home villagers are paying taxes to Gates Mills as their work city rather than other municipalities. Municipal income tax revenue is also benefiting by a subtle shift in wage earners moving into the village and replacing villagers who paid less in tax. The mid-year financial outlook that we were asked to update has been affirmed again by the 11-month results, and in summary, the village is in good financial shape. Revenue for the 11 months was $6.2 million. The month of November included $295,000 of municipal income tax revenue. For the year-to-date, income tax revenue crossed the $3 million line. It's at $3,066,000, favorable to the budget by $966,000. Real estate tax revenue year-to-date is $2.4 million, 3% above prior year. Other sources revenue is $174,000 less than prior year due to the non-recurring $50,000 Bureau Workers' Comp refund in 21, less rental income at the Mills building due to tenant improvements and timing of payments, and the village has not yet received from the county road material reimbursement. We expect to receive that reimbursement in December in the amount of $108,000. Other source revenue is behind budget as we've not received camera traffic enforcement revenue due to the Ohio Supreme Court ruling that changed the method of billing tickets, and the village, Gatso, and Lyndhurst continue to try to work through the billing protocols. Expenditures for the 11 months were 5.5 million, 532,000 above prior year. This overage is due to higher personnel costs by 231,000, legal and professional fees by 87,000, EMS by 110,000, and service department vehicles by 105,000. For the month of November, departmental operating costs were $421,000, a fairly typical month. The general fund cash balance on November 30th was $8.1 million compared to the beginning of the year of $7.4 million. Other funds, as you know, the village is required to maintain other special funds by statute, contract, or regulation. Cash in these funds amounted to $2.2 million at the end of November. That balance will drop by over $1 million before year end, coincident with the payment of year-end bills and primarily the street work. As to the 23 budget, the Budget and Finance Committee met twice. We developed the 23 budget for expenditures and revenues. The departmental heads were asked to accumulate their budget figures and their needs. Compensation information was gathered and benchmarked from neighboring and comparable communities. The Wage and Benefit Committee also met on November 22nd, and their recommendations were referred to the Budget and Finance Committee, who took those and worked those into the larger budget. The Wage and Benefit Committee met and determined that the compensation levels for the different positions was competitive and that a 4% increase would be appropriate for 2023. Highlights from the 23 budget are as follows, and this is as of last evening at the second meeting. We have developed a balanced budget with $6,050,000 of revenue and $6,032,000 of expenditures. We have increased the expenditures on roads to accomplish the road program over the 6-year period. And we expect to tackle the Mayfield Road culvert stormwater replacement project at a cost nearly $500,000 this year, 23, through grants received and other revenue sources. That's a item that's been kicked down the road a number of years, and we've put together the money through grants and some other sources to tackle that in 23. Long-range financial schedules with the 23 budget set. We updated the long-range financial schedules that were developed in late 2020. I presented these to the Budget and Finance Committee meeting. At the Budget and Finance Committee meeting yesterday, we had good conversation and general concurrence. The process we're going to follow is to wait one more month until the 23 numbers are finalized, update the numbers for any 22 numbers are finalized, update the long-range planning for 22's actual, work the narrative a little bit, and present that formally to council in January. Overall, we're in a solid financial position. We foresee the next 5 years having balanced revenues and balanced expenditures and having the financial position of health such that as we negotiate contracts and look for potential long-term investments to fix things that may come in front of us, we have a good balance sheet to do that with. That concludes my report. This report will be published to the village website. Any questions can be directed to me now or later through treasurer@gatesmillsvillage.com.
I'd like to make a couple of comments. I've been through this, maybe 6 times now on council. I thought this was the best process I've seen. Thanks to you, Steve, and to you, Janet. And we have been able to now look at the 2023 budget both thoroughly and in the context of the 5-year outlook, which I think is helpful. The 5-year outlook, the most important message from it, and you're going to fine tune it, as you said, based on the actual year end for 2022, but give or take, a very small amount, the cash balance of the village at the end of 22 will be about exactly the same at the end of 2027. In other words, we're basically holding our own. We're not facing a deficit based on the numbers, based on the schedule. We have some conservative assumptions. We address our failed and poor roads in those numbers over the next 5 years. We accomplish a number of other things, and as you've consistently said for the last year, we are in very good, healthy shape, and that 5-year plan reconfirms that. So I think it's just a marvelous job, and it doesn't mean that, a forecast for 5 years is certainly gonna miss the mark, but hopefully even do better than that. But I think it's a great job, and I commend you.
Thank you. The numbers always speak. And I think people had a lot of impressions on maybe how things were going. I think once you put the pen to paper and you document them with the assumptions and you do the hard work of that, it brings you the result, and easy to put together a report at the end when the numbers essentially tell you the story. So thank you for the compliments, and Janet and I will have a cocktail one day to celebrate that.
And I would encourage anybody that to go on the website and read all of Steve's reports that Janet and Steve have been working on, because they are in-depth and very informative. They're good reads, and explains it very well about the village financial positions. So we thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments? Okay, we'll move on. Next is mayor's report, and I do want to thank Jack Schron, our District 6 rep, for our grant that we got for $250,000. $220,000 will go toward, and we're doing the paperwork on that tonight, toward the culvert on Mayfield Road that goes back to the 90s. Ed can tell you, I think it's been since Sally Broom was mayor on the list to get done. So I'm very thankful for that. And then the other money, $30,000, will go toward updating ADA in the basement here for the doors and the bathroom and whatnot. It'll go toward that. So we thank District 6 for that. I want to make everybody aware that the 3rd grade came, and I'm going to read this. I guess I'm taking this with me. The 3rd grade class at Gates Mills Elementary School said, "Dear Town Hall, thank you for letting us come over to visit and learn. We had a great time listening to everyone talk about their job. We especially like meeting Franklin." That's the service department's dog. Thank you for the candy and treats too. It was a nice surprise. Happy holidays. I don't know how you say her name.
Mrs. V.
Yeah, very good. Anyway, the kids were delightful. All the departments and myself spoke. They're studying government, and it was delightful to have them come and hear their questions. It was very rewarding. And Franklin is Dave's dog. So we thank them for coming. The other thing is, I've gotten lots of compliments on the service department's job of the lights this year. There's more lights evidently, and they made some changes and everybody likes it. So we thank all of our service department. And with that, we'll move to committee reports. Oh, is it 5:30? It is 5:30. So we're going to stop, and we are going, do we have to adjourn and whatnot? No. Okay, so we're going to call the public hearing to order for in relation to our chicken ordinances and fence ordinance.
The first one is an ordinance amending section 1163.11 fences, new standards, lot and yard regulations to further regulate chain link fences. And effectively what this is doing is prohibiting chain link fences on corner lots. They're already prohibited in the front yard, but not in corner lots. And so effectively what this ordinance is doing is prohibiting them on a corner lot where the fence is within 50 feet of the road.
Okay,
And we'll allow comment for this first, then go to the other one.
anybody have any questions? Okay, let's go to the next one.
Okay, and the next one is an ordinance amending zoning code section 115703 accessory uses in a U1 single family district for allowing certain, permit the keeping of chickens and certain other domesticated fowl as an accessory use in residential zoning districts. And we had a number of residents that were extremely helpful in this process. What we started with, the law director gave us a few documents to look at, planning and zoning. Had crafted an ordinance with the thought that it was better to have more information there than less. And then be able to adapt that to the specific needs of the village and resident input. I'm happy to say that we were able to whittle down the 4 or 5 page original ordinance down to about, about a single page. So I thank those residents that helped out during this process and agreed to volunteer their time and their insights. And happy to take any questions during the hearing.
Any questions about the chicken ordinance? Holly? Yes, please.
Hi, Holly Matthews, 7469 Sherman Road. I had just a couple questions for clarification.
Holly, speak into the microphone.
Sorry. In a couple of the prior council meetings, I think one time the law director, Mr. Hunt, said that people wouldn't be grandfathered in, and then maybe at a consecutive, another follow-up meeting said there would be grandfathering in. And the new ordinance prohibits chickens on less than an acre, if I read that correctly. So if people already have chickens now and they are on less than an acre, are they grandfathered in?
No.
Okay, so they have to remove
They're
their,
only grandfathered if they were established or zoning put into place at Gates Mills.
Turn that on.
Before zoning was put into place in Gates Mills, which was, I don't have the date, but it was a long.
what do you mean zoning? I just,
We didn't have a zoning code in Gates Mills.
so any zoning code,
Any
okay,
zoning, and then there was a zoning code put into place. And so I suppose if there was a farm that had chickens and continued to have chickens and the owner could prove that going back, I don't know how many
yeah,
decades.
Okay.
They would be grandfathered, otherwise not.
okay.
Clarify it.
Is it okay if I ask a question on behalf of my neighbor who couldn't be here?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
David Forker and Elizabeth Porter at 781 Chagrin River Road, they had a clarification question about commercial uses. Could they sell their eggs at a farmer's market, or is that prohibited? My understanding is I would read the ordinance as saying, you can't hang a sign in your yard or have people coming in to purchase eggs if you have extra eggs to sell or whatever, but could you take them to a farmer's market?
I'll defer the law director on that
Well,
question.
I think it was contemplated exactly as you said, but I'm thinking the situation where originally we had a limit on the number of chickens. Now there is no
Correct.
limit.
Correct.
Someone could have a chicken farm that produces eggs, large establishment that would be selling eggs to.
But isn't there a provision in there for commercial uses are prohibited? I mean,
That's what we're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
so
my
that's
question. What does that mean, really?
So,
Like,
it's probably not a problem if you have even 24 chickens and you take some eggs to a farmer's market. But what about someone who decides to put up a huge facility?
Well, then it would show up on their,
then the neighbors
personal
would probably
taxes.
complain.
Exactly.
And you have
So
some verbiage in this ordinance that could shut that down. I think even with my 14 chickens that I have right now, there are some weeks in the summer where I've had an extra 6 dozen eggs.
Wow.
Like,
Oh.
and I like to give them away, but I know, and if I knew someone who was at a farmer's market, I'd be like, hey, go sell these for me. Bring it on. Make $30, whatever. But that's a question that my
I
neighbors
can't
are
see a
posing.
problem with that.
Yeah,
Taking
and
them
again,
to a
right, and I
farmer's
go, like, I view commercial use prohibited, meaning like there's a sign out front, meaning you're using your property for a commercial use
Yeah.
versus I have some extra eggs and I'm gonna, put a sign at the end of the
Right.
driveway, like somebody would sell lemonade, or I'm going to take them to the 4th of July parade or something
Okay.
else. So I think, I'm not an attorney, but my view of that is I'm using my personal property for commercial purposes, meaning I've got
Well, if you
An
have an
egg fa-
egg factory on your property.
That's a-
different
Well,
thing.
Yeah.
yeah, that's a
Right.
whole other thing
Right.
from
So
keeping
I don't know
chickens.
if you need to
That's,
Clarify that.
Okay.
that's fact.
and-
I don't think we're talking about.
If it's a business, it's going to show up through taxes, so. Posting a sign would be the, we draw the line in my mind.
Okay, I will
Realistically
pass
looking
all
at
of
it,
this on
yeah.
to my neighbors. I wish I could ask better questions for them, but that's the best I got. Thank you, Craig, for working with us on crafting.
Nope.
an
Thank you
ordinance.
for your time through all this.
My pleasure.
Any other questions?
Are you still okay with this new law? With this rewritten?
Actually, I am.
Okay.
I am. I feel like it's reasonable. It allows for attitude, allows for and I think that's what's there. I think God. But I think it covers all. So.
Thank you, Holly. Any other questions? Can we adjourn the hearing then?
Yes.
We'll adjourn the hearing and go back to our council meeting. Okay, committee reports.
I'll start with a few items here. There will be a real estate committee meeting on this Friday at 9 o'clock. I believe that's the 16th. A couple other things as it relates to real estate in the village. A sign is being constructed to put out in front of, effectively in between where Sarah's sign is and where the Howard Hanna sign is right now. That will be a for lease sign. So as people are driving through the village, to make them aware that we do have space in the village. This will be discussed at the real estate committee meeting. And then we did allude to this at the last council meeting, but thanks to the hard work of the mayor and others and law director, we've been able to determine that Burton Court is available or is able to be made available for lease. So we are talking with Sarah's Place right now, and we, as well as others that may have an interest in renting the property. Obviously, this is good for the village. We've had Burton Court for 15, 16, more than 16 years. And I think frankly has maybe been a little bit underutilized in the village. There has been some talk in the comprehensive plan around coffee shops and other types of services that might be made available. And so in addition to the space that Cindy Halley used to be in, we do have Burton Court, which will also be marketed for lease.
And
many
the
square feet is
OBT
that?
building.
Yes,
How many square feet is the Burton Court?
Burton Court's about 1,200.
Thank you. Mayor, the Wage and Benefit Committee report, can I do that?
Yes,
So the Wage and Benefit Committee met on November 22nd. Minutes have been provided to the council members in their packets. Generally, the committee discussed the benchmark spreadsheet that we use to compare the village positions and wage scales to 9 neighboring communities and comparable in neighboring communities. Bentleyville, Mayfield Village, Hunting Valley, Pepper Pike, etc. The committee concluded that the village was competitive in its marketplace, that a 4% increase for all positions was appropriate for 23, and to request the police chief that the hourly rate range for part-time patrolman be increased at the high end to $31 an hour. The committee discussed the CPI level and the 7.6% increase from a year ago and considered this in its deliberations. We also believe that the inflation rate would decrease over time, over ensuing months, and that a 4% increase for the coming year was appropriate. We also looked at the pay ordinance and thought that those should stay in effect as they were written, including the provisions for longevity and incentive pools. In short, the two ordinances that you'll have tonight, 22-38 and 22-39, were the result of the recommendation of the Wage and Benefit Committee and approved by the Budget and Finance Committee. We concluded on a general discussion on vision benefits and decided to not offer this as a village paid benefit, but perhaps as an employee paid option that the village might be able to help organize.
Thank you.
I think Sandra was going to make a report on the comprehensive plan. She clearly had to step out with a family issue. So I'll make a quick summary report. We had a comprehensive plan advisory committee meeting in November. The format of that meeting was 2 roundtables of participants to talk through some of the elements of the draft plan. Following that meeting, both the consultant and Sandra and I felt first that it was an appropriate time to get a pulse from the advisory committee members of their take on each of the draft elements, or the elements of the draft plan, which is in, very rough form, but takes further shape with each meeting. And that was a pretty rigorous exercise. Took quite a while for each advisory committee member over the last 3 to 4 weeks. I'm happy to say the deadline to send their responses in to the consultant, Sandra nor I have seen any individual's response to the whole laundry list of elements of the plan. We started with 27 members of the advisory committee, 2 people. One person just had a conflict. Another just found that he just couldn't make the meetings. They always conflicted and felt that really he would do better just to back away. So we were down to 25. Some people just haven't been able to make the meeting. So we were concerned about, what is the real attendance and how engaged are people. And this attempt to get feedback through the checklist, we called it, was going to be an interesting response. We thought we might lose another, 4 or 5 members that have just drifted away. The consultant told us way back in the early stages of planning that a large committee is an okay place to start because you're going to lose people. Some will just drift away. But I am very enthused to report that as of last night, we had 22 out of our 25 members had taken the time, and we're talking probably an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours to go through and really think through each of the elements and write comments. And well, I guess they wrote comments, it's my sense. Sandra and I have also taken time to talk to a lot of the individual members of the advisory committee on their take on the process. What do they think? Are there ideas on how to further improve the process? And the consultant as well. And I think we've gotten a lot of great ideas. One of them is that we really ought to shorten the meeting and then probably have a few more. So we're now scheduling a meeting for January. It'll be either the 1st or 2nd week of January. It'll be an hour and a half in length. We will continue with roundtables and probably take on 2 topics at that meeting. We're going to meet with our consultant this Thursday and refine that. The consultant has committed to have materials out a week in advance. Quite frankly, I can't condone, nor we're very pleased that she was getting the materials out at the very last minute. She's been very clear. We've been very clear, and she's totally agreed that she's going to get them out a week in advance. So that we very much hope to have very substantive discussions and work these through. My guess is that, as I said, have more meetings, but shorter in length. And this, so the exact timing of when we've really wrestled all this, clearly some of the feedback from the advisory committee members is they really do want to get into some dialogue and work this through and listen to the different thoughts. And gosh, I've just had some wonderful discussions with individual members on, just their thoughts on how to further improve the process. So I think we'll be gearing back up again. Obviously, December, we wanted to take the time to do this checklist. It'll help us focus on where are areas that the committee would like to dig into further and where are there areas that they're already comfortable with. So this will give us a chance. We'll learn later this week from the consultant what the priorities should be. And I think we're going to hit the ground running in January. So we're very enthused and very pleased with the enthusiasm, quite frankly, of all the members at this point. So
Thank you.
Chip, quick question. Do you feel like you're still on track in terms of your original timetable?
No, I suspect we'll go further into 2023 than we might first have thought. And I think we're just, again, been listening to the residents and trying to take 2.5 or 3 hours, or they just run out of steam. So our goal is an hour and a half. Obviously, if we go an hour and 45 minutes, it's not going to be a killer, but trying to schedule 2 or 2.5 and have it drift to 3 hours was getting beyond the pale. And, we got a huge percentage of the members of the advisory committee have day jobs and families, and so we think they like that idea. So that's what we're going to try in January, which again means further meetings. Now we'll probably have maybe 3, max 4 weeks apart, but I would imagine it might be, well, I don't know. We have to work that out with the consultant, but I think it could be more into the spring before we really pull it together. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any other reports?
Charter Committee report. Karen, we met this morning. And we've been working on a questionnaire to go out to past officials in Gates Mills. So we worked on the questionnaire, going to be putting kind of the final touches on that coming up in the next month or so. And then also we discussed an approach of looking at the charters of several communities like ours. So Janet kindly pulled copies of Chagrin Falls, Hunting Valley, Kirtland Hills, Waite Hill, and Moreland Hills. I think that's all of them, Janet. So we're going to take a look at those, do a comparison, and then probably follow up with either the law director or the mayor to talk about their charter, how it's different from ours, why. Again, just to get a feel for what might be best practices.
Great. Thank you. Any other reports? Okay, then we're going to move on to Police Department. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Everybody should have received a copy of my report. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Chief, there was, I think, some discussion about regarding the traffic cameras, that while you may not be able to make them active for a while you work out the software, or while GATSO and the courts work out the software, that there was some thought that at least physically getting them installed. Again, our primary goal is to reduce speed, and at least even having them out there, even though they're not active, might already start to have some impact. So just wondered what the timing might be, and whether you agree or think at this point that you might get them up early, even if we don't have the software ready.
I do. In fact, I had commented to the mayor just prior to the meeting. Dave and I met with First Energy officials electronically via email. She was out sick for a while. Our contact there. But tomorrow morning, I'm going to sign the documents, get those over to GATSO, who we've had some communication with. So there's a good possibility they may break ground on construction here in the next 30 to 45 days. We're hoping for. Doesn't mean that we're going to be ready to go. We can collect some data with that. So a lot of it's going to be weather dependent and whatnot, but we've been told there's going to be a material shortage, I think, Dave, with maybe the transformers or transformer bases. So they would like to install these at the same time. Although I think the eastbound cameras, we could make that happen now, but I think they want to do both at once. So the issue is going to be more with the westbound camera. So, but it's moving forward, and there's a good chance. I'm certain they will be up, and we'll collect data well before the court will be ready to take this on.
The sooner we get them installed, the more data we can collect.
So again, I'll send that over tomorrow, and it came over Monday, and I want to give it a day just to see if anything transpired. Nothing did. So we'll go ahead and sign that and fax it all over tomorrow. Right. Just a couple of things I did want to mention I thought were important. That was one of them, so I'm glad you asked. A Saturday night, November 12th, was a very busy night. We had 2 separate DUI accidents that occurred on Mayfield Road during the evening shift. So it was kind of a busy night for the officers, and both of them, both vehicles, they were one car accidents, but both of them jumped the median strip. Heavily intoxicated drivers. One actually made a turn westbound into the eastbound lane, went all the way down the hill. Traffic was kind of getting out of the way. And we had a good Samaritan actually stop and pull the keys out of the ignition down the bottom of the hill. So that was probably dangerous to do, but it worked out. So that was on Saturday the 12th. So that was kind of busy. We see that every now and then. We don't see it twice in one day very often, obviously, but it could have been a lot worse, certainly. And there were injuries. Both drivers were injured, but no, non-life threatening, but they were transported to the hospital. So I thought that was important. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, this just came over last week. I filled the mayor in on this. So back in April of 2012, we had a resident who fell prey to a grandparent scam, about $11,000 over a period of time. He reported to us after the third time he submitted money. And so he received an email from the U.S. Postal Inspector in Providence, New Jersey, New Jersey. And he wrote me and he said, just wanted to let you know that Cranston PD, Rhode Island, just arrested the subject after an address that we provided him with, where the money was sent to by our victim here in town. And after a controlled delivery, the subject took possession of a UPS envelope and hid it in the closet. Similar to our investigation, the package was related to a grandparent scam and contained $25,000 in cash in the house. So that subject is being charged with obtaining funds under false pretenses. So that was a good ending for us. I don't think the victim will probably get his money back, quite honestly. But, so just goes to show that good follow-up by our officers went ahead and made this happen for us.
This was 10 years later? You said 2012.
I'm sorry, 2022, April
I'm
of this year.
sorry. Okay.
Sorry about that.
April. Okay. Okay. All right.
You wanted to say something about Stuff the Cruiser?
I could do that. So this past Saturday, we did have Cram the Cruiser, Stuff the Cruiser right in front of the town hall, ran from 1 o'clock to about 4 o'clock. We had a couple of Marines here and, they were great. We had a steady flow of traffic and, we'll get an exact number from the Marines. They haven't gotten back to us with that information, but I would expect probably some in the neighborhood of 200, 250 packages. And cash donations and Rick in the back was nice enough to stop, talk.
Very nice.
And, obviously some other people, but it was nice. We like doing that. All of our officers who are available will volunteer their time for that. So, we're all pitching in. So we try to do that once a year. It's a nice way to give back. And, it's well received. So we're happy to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Service Department, Dave.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. You should have received a copy of the Service Department report for November. Pretty standard and typical. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Just a quick question, maybe this is for Janet. So this, on Hill Creek Lane, the stabilization, is that something we can be using the funds from the Land Conservancy levy for, from a usage standpoint?
It's stormwater related in my mind.
So I
think
would agree. And
Chris
so
would-
we've got this, the revenue coming in. And so I just want to make sure we're mindful of utilizing that.
I think that you were looking for Hill Creek Lane, some of the NEORSD money.
Well, he might be talking about what's already done,
Right. Yeah. What's already been spent.
which we can't get reimbursed for,
Um,
but for the future project.
is that when we're getting, that Chris is getting?
Correct.
from?
Right.
For the future.
For the
work, not
future
this
work,
one.
correct, correct.
I don't know.
So may I? So on the point of using conservancy funds for stormwater management issues, that's permitted. And part of the 22 conservancy funds, the village's portions, we've earmarked to help with the Mayfield Road culvert stormwater replacement. So we know that's out there. We're not using it for everything, but if there are large projects that are deserving of that, we're
Right, perfect.
so thank you, Craig.
Thank you, Steve.
If there are no other questions, that concludes my
That was a
report.
nice job you did on the West Hill with the tree going through the power system.
Oh, yeah,
We were out for almost 2 days.
yeah. It's always a challenge.
It was very well done.
That concludes
you,
my
Dave.
report.
Okay, now we're on a little bit of a holding pattern. What do we do? Samantha's here. Tell me. She had to run home.
Or
They're 4 of the 7.
I just texted her.
When we have a quorum, right? Is that the issue or what?
You can't suspend the rules with 4 of you. You need 5.
I see.
Well, the chicken and fence you could pass because those have had 3 readings.
Well,
They don't need to suspend the rule.
Right,
but I
and
don't know if you wanna do that.
yeah, no, the chicken, I think we'll wait on.
Yeah.
We're missing two members of council, now
close
3,
there, yeah.
so. We've had the public hearing, we've had three readings on that, but
Keep
I'm not in any
going.
rush
Wait,
to,
wait.
to vote on this. And Todd, I don't know if that needs to be tabled or it can be tabled and brought back. It just remains on the agenda. Okay.
Well, I wanted to comment since the fire chief isn't here. I'm sorry because.
Yes, the fire chief report is in, but he is still
Right.
out sick.
So but I'm still going to make the comment that I have a alert here. It's called the $1 billion idea. It's a smoke detector that shuts off when you yell, "I'm just cooking." So I think that he ought to really dig into that because then we'd save a whole lot of money on our calls. So.
No, no.
Yes, exactly. So if somebody can come up with that, because that's exactly what I do when I do set it off when I'm cooking and it doesn't hear me. So I'm going to pass that on to the fire chief. So.
You said Sandra's on her way.
Yeah, Sandra's on her way. She's on River Road, this side of Mayfield. So she's close.
So should we take on the fence
So
ordinance
what's
then?
going to happen with the first ordinance? Ordinance 2022.
I think the first ordinance, I think a lot of actually most of the groundwork has been laid. I think we've addressed a lot of the questions on it. I'd rather err on the side of being thoughtful than expedient. We've also got 2 members of council that aren't here, and I'd rather have this voted on in front of a full council than not.
So you want to push
what are we
it to
talking-
January?
I would rather wait until January to
What are we talking about?
chicken.
Chicken, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Do we?
Fences.
What
So
about,
it's.
what about the fences, the next?
Could I just ask
22
a quick question on that? If we continue, we've had 3 readings. This would be the night of the 3rd reading. So we've officially had that,
This is the 4th.
technically the 4th. Okay. Yes, so we don't take action. We've got it. We've had a public hearing. We could take action, but we don't. The next
Right.
council meeting, we choose not to. 6 months from now, we still haven't taken any action. And then suddenly something comes up regarding, let's say, chickens in this case. Say, oh, well, I guess you're right. We already have that in the books, so it's approved. I mean, how about 4 years from now? At what point is there a?
I think should stay on the agenda until
Each meeting?
4 members of council, majority of council says.
Yes
take
or
it
no?
off.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, that answered that.
Okay.
So we'll put it on the January 2023 agenda.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next is ordinance 2022-28.
Right. And so I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2022-28, which is for the chain link fences that we've had 3 readings and we just had the public hearing on.
Would you include in that, Mr. Steinbrink, as revised December 13th,
Yes.
2022? Because I did add the old standards to the ordinance, which is identical to the new standards.
Okay. Yes. So as revised.
Quick
On-
question.
Sure.
So if an existing fence that's not in compliance is grandfathered under
Yes.
this? And we can't change that?
Well, it would be difficult to change it. I'm not sure what the magnitude of the problem is. Maybe Dave could shed some light on it, but if there are a lot of those out there now, and I don't know if there are, you could amortize this and have a sunset provision. But it needs to be based on the actual useful life of a chain link fence. And sometimes chain link fences last forever. So council needs to tell me if you want something like that. And then we need to do, I think, a little research as to what the time period should be. Is it 5 years, 7 years, 10 years? Whatever.
Well, what are everyone's thoughts on that?
Quite frankly, the reason this whole thing came up is one that's very visible on River Road. And the thought that it's going to be there and it's very new, so it's going to be there for 20 or 25 years is concerning.
So the useful life on a chain link fence is probably not 5 years or 7 years. My guess.
Probably
is
20 years.
20 to,
20?
yeah, would be my
Well, if that's
guess.
the best we can do, then it's kind of a moot point, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know what you mean by the useful life. We certainly see some chain link fences that after 10 or 15 years, they're half rusted. Now, they may not have fallen apart, so what's the definition? Now, I guess if it
It
becomes,
would be good to define that.
So if you go to replace your chain link fence, then you're done, right? You have to comply. Okay. And Dave, are there very many? No. Okay. I agree if it's 20 years and and if you go to replace it, and I guess.
As a
if it
village,
looks
we got
really-
rid of all our chain link fence or most of it.
I guess if it looks really poor, then the village might cite the person and then they'd have to replace it, then it would be done.
That would be what
right,
would
okay.
probably happen
Thank-
first. If
Yeah,
it
right. And then
was
there,
Russ, then we would complain and say it's gotta go.
All right, thank you.
I want to apologize for having to leave the meeting and I hope I didn't delay
Nope,
too
we're
much
good.
of the action. You're still on chickens and fences.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well,
We
Never gets
moved,
old,
what-
never gets.
wait a minute, we moved the chicken ordinance to January. We're not voting on it tonight.
well, anyway, we don't typically give out presents to council, but in light of all of your work on this issue, Craig, we have a
Oh.
token of our appreciation.
I don't,
Oh, and we want you to open it.
Yeah, oh, we definitely.
do I need to open this?
Yes.
This better not be a chicken calendar.
Why, do you have one
Bad that
already?
Holly left.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
That is. Oh, boy, I should have seen this one coming, huh?
Can always regift it.
We thought you'd
Oh, I would
enjoy it.
never think of it. Oh, wonderful, fantastic.
Little levity to the night.
Well done.
Okay, we're back to 2022-28 and we've had as revised and we've had 3 readings and a hearing and
Need a second.
second,
Alberter,
yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
okay, next is resolution number 2022-36. Sandra?
a resolution requesting the county auditor to advance taxes from the proceeds of tax levies pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 321.34. This is a typical year-end housekeeping activity to formally request any monies in the county treasurer to be sent to the village.
Second.
What? No, do you need to suspend the rule?
Oh, suspend the rules. Thank you.
Second,
Alberter,
yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
move to, will someone move to approve?
I move to
Second.
approve 2022-36.
Second. Alberter,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh.
Yes.
Alwater and, or was that Steinbrink? Who moved and seconded?
I think
He-
Chip
he moved
moved
and he's-
and
yeah,
Ed
Ed
seconded.
seconded.
Chip and
Okay,
Ed.
well, sorry.
Okay, next is ordinance 2022-37. This is an ordinance authorizing a contract with Weicker Insurance Services to furnish and provide liability and property insurance coverage for the Village of Gates Mills, its officials and employees, and declaring an emergency.
Okay,
So proposed.
Suspend the rules?
Yes.
do do you want to know the premium?
Yeah.
I just got it today. So that's why it wasn't in your packet. They have, Selective Insurance has increased or updated the values on our properties. And we took in a big truck this year. They're updating their property values with all of their municipalities to make sure that replacement values, can be taken care of. So this has resulted, we're having a 10% increase this year in our property casualty, and this is our public officials liability. But the bulk of it, the 5,000 of the 8,000 is coming due to the property value increases. So our premium for next year is going to be 91,734. So next year, they're going to do a full-blown shop of the whole plan. But they are finding this is happening with all the municipalities that they handle.
So they went up 10,000.
8,000.
All right, so moved.
Yeah.
We suspend.
Spend.
And the rule.
Second?
Alberter,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh.
Yes.
Now you can move, Ed.
I'd like to move to the ordinance 2022-37, authorizing Weicker Insurance Services employee and declaring an emergency. Well, I got that done. So moved.
Second?
Alberter,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next is ordinance 2022-38. An ordinance declaring the village intention to enter into a health reimbursement account for 2023 and declaring an emergency.
So moved.
Second.
Suspend.
No, I'm sorry, you moved to suspend?
Alberter,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh.
Yes.
Now move.
Move to approve 2022-38.
Second.
Alberter,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is ordinance 2022-39, an ordinance to increase the compensation of certain village employees and declaring an emergency.
Move to suspend?
Second.
Alberter,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh.
Yes.
Move
Move
to
to sus-
approve 2022-39.
Second.
Alberter,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh.
Yes.
And for the benefit of the audience, everything we're doing is basically already reflected in the budget for 2023. We understand the context of this. These are just all of the belt and suspenders to approve all of these things. So that's why we're just trying to rush through them, just because we've already really hashed these out at the budget and subcommittee meetings. So.
Thank you. Next is ordinance 2022-40. Sandra?
An ordinance to amend the annual appropriation ordinance number 2021-50 to increase certain appropriations and other expenditures of the Village of Gates Mills, Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2022. This, in a sense, updates the appropriations from last year to cover expenses that were not included in the appropriations. So it goes to from the general fund to these different funds to close out the year.
And this is being
Move
done
to
because,
suspend?
sorry, and then
There's
this is being
no, oh, go ahead.
done, this is being done because of the conservative
Yes,
budgeting
yes,
that
the
we're a
conservative
little bit-
budget.
Right, and so money gets added in
Yeah.
at the end of the year. Okay.
Yeah, if we had padded it a little bit more last year, we wouldn't be coming back now, but we budgeted very conservatively. This doesn't say,
We need to suspend.
it doesn't say suspend.
I know it doesn't say it, but we need to suspend.
I said move to suspend.
Okay.
Second,
Do we get a second?
Yeah, Laura.
Allworder,
Yes.
Deacon,
yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
Now a motion to,
move to approve.
So moved.
Allworder,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
thank you. Next is resolution 2022-41. Sandra?
a resolution authorizing and directing the transfer of certain sums from the general fund to the police pension fund. So in this case, the transfer that was just appropriated is now being approved to take place. Suspend the rules?
Second.
Allworder,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
move to approve?
Second.
Allworder,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is ordinance 2022-42. Sandra?
an ordinance providing appropriations for expenditures for the Village of Gates Mills, Ohio for fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023, repealing certain ordinances and declaring an emergency. This matter was discussed by the Budget and Finance Committee twice, and most recently, yesterday, and similar to what was just described previously, this is the proposed expenditures for 2023. Move to suspend?
I'd like to comment that just all of council to be aware, because I hadn't even quite realized this. For many years, this annual appropriation was set about 10 or 20% higher so that we never had to do what we just did a few minutes ago, which is to approve any overrun. And I think with Steve's guidance and Janet, this is more very much, numbers might be slightly different, but pretty much the budget that we're going to finalize in January, which means that it's very likely that as 2023 unfolds, we're going to have to come back in some categories like we just did for additional appropriation. But with Finance Committee and Council, at least it allows us to say, gee, that's why are we doing that? And we have a reason where to understand. Whereas in the past, we never had to come back to Council because these numbers were set way above what the actual budget was. So I think we talked about this last night, and we think even though it means coming back to Council a few times, that it's a healthier step. So did I say that properly, Steve?
You said that accurately. We're setting the appropriations at the amount of the budgets. If, as things occur during the year and we need additional money in certain categories, we'll come back to council as we did a couple of times this year. It's good governance and it's good controls. There's a little bit more work for the staff internally, a little more work for the finance group, and a little more noise, if you will, for council. But rather than just setting an appropriation 10 or 20% higher than the budget and not being accountable for that, I prefer the way we're doing it now.
Move to suspend?
Second?
Allworder,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
move to approve?
Second.
Allworder,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is ordinance 2022-43. Chip?
Yes, this is an ordinance of approval and granting consent to the Director of the Ohio Department of Transportation authority to apply, maintain, and repair standard longitudinal pavement markings and erect regulatory and warning signs on state highways inside village corporate limits, and giving consent of the village for the Ohio Department of Transportation to remove snow and ice and use snow and ice control material on state highways inside the village corporate limits, and giving consent of the village for the Ohio Department of Transportation to perform maintenance and or repair on state highways inside the village corporation. I think it speaks for itself. We haven't done this every single year to my knowledge, so Just in the past, they've done this without our authorization or they, on the other hand, they never do come and plow our roads anyways, do they? So. Okay. So I move to suspend the rules.
Second,
Alberter,
Yes.
Deacon,
yes.
Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
Now I move to approve 2022-43.
Second,
Alberter,
Yes.
Deacon,
yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner,
yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is resolution 2022-44. Sandra?
this is a good news resolution. A resolution authorizing the mayor to accept a grant and to execute a project award agreement with the county of Cuyahoga for the village's Mayfield Road Culvert Replacement Project and declaring an emergency. The county council has awarded the village a grant of $220,000 for the Mayfield Road Culvert Replacement Project. So congratulations, Mayor.
I know Chris isn't here, but do we have a ballpark on when this starts, finishes, timeline? Or maybe Dave, you can answer? Okay,
Are they gonna leave the horse pipe in there so it cross underneath the road?
Yeah, we're not touching the horse pipe.
we could put a chicken pipe in if,
A horse
Thank you.
Move
Okay.
to, move to suspend?
Second.
Alberter,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink.
yes,
Turner,
Yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
move to approve.
second,
Alberter.
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
yes,
Turner,
Yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is resolution 22-45. Sandra?
and the good news keeps rolling. A resolution authorizing the mayor to accept a grant and to execute a project award agreement with the county of Cuyahoga for the village's public restroom renovation project and declaring an emergency. So this is a grant from the county council for $30,000 to do renovation on the lower level restroom, making it handicap accessible.
And that lower level is the one accessible to people on the paddle, on the tennis court and the
Yes.
park and all that. So this is really truly a public restroom.
Two of them.
Suspend the rules. Move to suspend the rules.
second,
Alberter.
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
yes,
Turner,
Yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
move to approve.
Second.
Alberter,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
yes,
Turner,
Yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is ordinance 2022-46. Chip?
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a purchase agreement with Southeastern Equipment Company for an articulated wheel loader for use by the service department. Just for reference, this is the front end loader that certainly throughout the winter is used to unload salt deliveries and put them into the storage bin and then to take the salt and load them into the back of our big road trucks. In fact, the one that we have is 20-some years old. The circuit board went on the fritz and it was very lucky to even find somebody that could repair it. It's really touch and go. If it doesn't work, then Dave and his crew are going to be out there with shovels trying to load the trucks with ice, with salt. So this is actually, we've got to get these as fast as we can. Dave has researched and this one will be 172,000, but it's a very vital piece of equipment for us. And we also use it over the summer too for various jobs in the summer, but that's the
So this
primary.
is in our 23 budget.
And it's in our 23 budget. So I move to suspend?
Second.
Alberter,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
yes,
Turner,
yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
Now I move to approve 2022-46.
Second.
Alberter,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
yes,
Turner,
yes,
Welsh.
Yes.
Thank you. Next are council matters. Chip, do you want to,
No, I have some further thoughts. So we'll bring it up maybe in the January meeting. So
ideas?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Any other council matters?
did we discuss the gates, The comprehensive plan?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just comment about the Gates Mills Land Conservancy. Last month, I indicated that the new officers took their positions, and last Saturday, they had a strategic, or we had a strategic planning session. It was the first since 2012. The discussions will continue early next year among the board members and conclude with an action plan. We set a calendar of events for the entire year. Membership donations are up. There's an operating expense surplus and a cash balance of over $818,000. So it's really a positive outlook. Nat Smith, the president, has asked to make a presentation to council in January. So we'll add that to the agenda.
Does the Conservancy have properties that it's taking a look at, either in terms of easements, purchase, or some of the way over the next year or two? Or has the majority of the effort been fundraising and securing dollars for kind of a permanent endowment?
That's a good question. This year, there has been no purchases or easements. But we're talking right now about paying off the loan, the mortgage for the Clark property. Planning to have the stewardship fund of $700,000 completed at the end of it is there now, but to make sure that remains and is sustained by the end of this 5-year levy period. But I think the concern is about having enough funds for any properties that may come up, although there are none that are being looked at right now.
And of course, we know that if there are properties that do come up, the village could be
Yes,
considered as well as a financial participant
yes.
in securing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that probably foretells a discussion that we need to have with the Land Conservancy on behalf of council as to how we might want to use our monies. We're talking a lot about tree canopy for example, and that's probably something we should embark on together with consultants, because I don't think any of us have the expertise to
Absolutely.
really do that. So let's hope that at the January meeting, we'll have an opportunity to address some of those.
And Sandra, is it like a 3-year strategic plan they're looking at?
Well, there hasn't been one
Oh,
since
there hasn't been one since
2012.
2012.
So it could be a
5
10-year
or a 10.
plan. Yeah, I don't think,
Okay.
we're far enough with that. The first meeting was Saturday, and I know Nat said today that it'll be continued.
Any other council matters? Okay, next business from the audience. Take it easy.
Yeah, I fell the other day too. I would ask that
Could you state your name, please?
Charlie Baker and on Echo Glen. I would like to ask that the treasurer report be made available a day before the council meeting as a PDF file on the website, because you just can't understand it that quickly. And if you have questions, it would be nice to have some time in advance to prepare that. So could we do that?
We can certainly try hard to do that, and we should be able to do it in 10 out of 12 meetings. Depending on when the council meeting is and when the numbers get closed, I usually spend the weekend to do the report, which means it may not get out to the council package on the Friday delivery. So sometimes, Charlie, it just doesn't, there's enough days before the package is put together.
Well, could we at least do it the morning of the council
Sure.
meeting
Yeah,
as
absolutely.
a PDF file so they can be printed out?
Absolutely.
Okay. And that's up.
And since you're going to get it down to one page, you said, then that might be
No, no,
something
no,
we could,
I didn't-
we could print that and have it available here. So
Well, in actuality, it'd be nice if all of the administration people could get their report on a PDF file the morning of the council so that it can be read in advance, and if you want to prepare questions, that could be done.
And we did talk about that, Charlie. So we're in total agreement with doing that going forward.
I'll be excited that people are actually reading what I write. That'll be good to hear. Maybe I'll get a few questions. So, Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Anyone else?
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Allward,
Yes.
Deacon,
Yes.
Steinbrink.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Welsh.
Yes.
Have we ever finished a council meeting by 6:30?
No.
Of course, we didn't.
Well, we
We haven't started at 5 before, but still.
Well, this is good for you, right?
Okay.